everybody. This is Dwight Peters from quarterwaters.com, the site for social entrepreneurs. Today with us, we have Jeremy Litchfield, the founder and CEO of Atayne Athletic Gear. Jeremy, welcome to the program.
Great, thanks for having me.
All right, Jeremy, let's jump into it. Can you share with our viewers what are your revenues for last year?
For last year, 2010, I guess we were just at about 100,000 in revenue.
All right.
And we're probably going to end the year this year at about 150,000.
All right. And tell us about the impact you've been having.
Our primary impact, if you look at it in terms of our business model, it really comes down to keeping trash out of landfills. And if you take a look at what we've done this year so far, so each garment that we produce keeps about anywhere from 8 to 15 plastic bottles out of landfills. So if you consider that we've sold about 10,000 units this year, we're looking at about 80 to 150,000 bottles that we've diverted from going into landfills.
So you guys are making athletic gear out of Poland Spring bottles. Well, I don't know if I can say Poland Springs.
Well, you
out of
just
water bottles, yeah. Out of water bottles or soda bottles or.
Yeah, I can tell you there's a pretty good chance that Poland Spring bottles are going into our apparel. All of our fabrics are derived, or I should say the bulk of them are derived from plastic bottles. All the fabrics we use are either 100% recycled or 100% organic. Okay. And most of our business is performance apparel, so it's primarily recycled polyester made from plastic bottles.
All right. So Jeremy, bring us back to the founding days of Atayne. What inspired you to create Atayne?
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's like it depends on how far you want to go back. It's one of those things, But in college, I decided that I wanted to start a company that would have a social impact that was focused on more than just the bottom line. I read the book by the founders of Ben and Jerry's.
Okay, yeah.
And that kind of convinced me. It's like, hey, this is a great way to make a positive impact on the world, but still, make some money. And several years went by of me just working and not pursuing that road of entrepreneurship. And about 4.5 years ago, I went out for a run, and I was wearing a new performance running shirt that I bought. And by the end of the run, I was just covered from the neck down in red dye. And it just kind of left me a bit disturbed, wondering what chemicals are being absorbed in my body here when I'm trying to make myself healthier. I did some research and realized that a lot of the way that the performance apparel is made, it's not only very harsh on the environment, it has a lot of chemicals that are known to be hazardous to human health. And I said, well, this is wrong. There's got to be a better way to do it. So I quit my job and decided I was going to start a company that did it differently.
What were you doing before that?
I was working at a marketing agency in Washington, D.C., doing like brand strategy and consumer insight work.
Okay, so you have a background in marketing.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So you quit your job. What was the next step? Did you bootstrap this? Look for investors?
Yeah, we've bootstrapped this company the entire time. We've raised some money from friends and family, but have decided that for a variety of reasons, we focus on bootstrapping. But really, my first step is I knew nothing about the apparel industry, literally, and so I just had to go in and start researching. I was trying to talk with anyone I could who was in the industry who could give me some advice and point me in the right direction, and just did a lot of research. The first 16 months that I was developing this company was really just heavy research mode. I didn't even know what type of fabrics I could use. I was starting from scratch, which is good because it made me look at the industry with a completely different perspective and realize that there's a lot of issues with it, not only from an environmental standpoint, but an economic standpoint. So really our business is built around, I like to say, eliminating waste in the apparel industry, both environmental and economic.
I like that. So you're saying that you didn't have any experience in the apparel business, and that actually kind of helped you because you were able to come with fresh eyes and see some of the problems and see some of the things that you were able to do different. So you spent quite a while doing your research about this, and that's the beauty of becoming an entrepreneur now. We have so many resources at our fingertips that we could do such intensive research. What was the next step after that?
It was literally, I think every entrepreneur at some point comes to a point in their process where they're standing on the edge of a cliff and they've kind of done what they need to do to officially launch the company. So, I did all this research, but I hadn't officially launched it. I hadn't made a commitment to manufacturing product. I was there. I had friends and family investors who were ready to write me checks, but I was scared. I was standing on the edge of the cliff and wasn't willing to jump yet.
But you already quit your job at this time, right?
Oh, I had quit my job. You're right. So I was kind of, I had to make a decision. But, it was one of those things. I could have easily gone back to my job. It's
okay.
And if I want, my company would have rehired me in a second.
Oh, so you weren't one of those that just stormed down and said, you know what, I'm out of here. I'm about to create something bigger and better.
No, my former boss is an investor in my company.
Awesome.
So, he helped in a lot of ways. But so it came to, and it's kind of a funny story. I was actually at a concert one night with a friend. Artist was Colin Hay, who is a kind of singer-songwriter, used to be the lead singer for 80s band Men at Work.
All right.
And he's singing this song. It's called Waiting for My Real Life to Begin. Okay. And Colin Hay is an interesting character because back in the 80s, he was about as big of a star as you could get. His band was the biggest, and now he is just a singer-songwriter playing small venues in front of 200 to 500 people. And, he's singing this song about waiting for him to get back to his fame and fortune. And the kind of undertone of the song is he's waiting, or the character in the song is waiting. And I realized, here I am, I have my dream at my fingertips, and the only person who's going to enable me to get there is to do it. And literally the day after this concert, I placed a pretty large order for a production run, and that set us up to launch sales in about 12 weeks from then.
All right, so tell our viewers, if you keep seeing me freeze up, it's because, I don't know, something's wrong with my cameras, but I'm not going to let that stop this great interview. So what was your next step? So you were outsourcing the T-shirts, or were you getting them, where were you getting them from?
We found a manufacturer who stocked some recycled fabrics. So, during that stage, we had made the decision that recycled polyester was going to be the best fabric to build our product line around. Number one, it had the performance requirements we needed in terms of breathability and wicking and everything you'd want from performance apparel. Okay. But it is also, from an environmental standpoint, it's really one of the more environmentally preferred fabrics because number one, it can be made from a post-consumer trash. It's made from plastic bottles, and it takes a lot less energy than a lot of other fabrics to make. So we found a manufacturer in Canada that stocked some recycled fabrics. They weren't 100% recycled content at the time. And we did a small production run. And we just basically started going out to expos at marathons and selling our running tops. All right. And since that time, a lot has changed. We now use only 100% recycled fabrics, and we do all of our manufacturing domestically. We're a full domestic manufacturer from going back all the way from the source of the bottles to the finished product. We have a lot more products coming out now as opposed to the early days when all we had was just a couple running shirts.
Okay. Huh. You guys, I'm listening, and you guys remind me so much of TerraCycle. I had a chance to interview Albie Zakes, and the beginning phase of them collecting plastic bottles to put their fertilizer in, and the whole idea of upcycling, because that's actually what you guys are doing in a way. You guys are pretty much upcycling plastic bottles into athletic gear.
Yeah.
Now, Jeremy, tell us about some of the struggles, though. This couldn't have been a walk in the park, or was it? Who knows?
No. It's like I always tell people, it's like starting a company, being an entrepreneur is hard, but it's not hard in the way that people think it's hard. It's not like the work is hard.
Yeah.
It's you do work, and it's kind of like I'm doing a lot of similar things I used to do in my day job. What's hard is unless someone has been there and has literally put I have a lot of money in this company. Most of the money that has come to fund this company has come from me. So I probably have, over the last 4.5 years, well over $100,000 in this company.
All right.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
A lot of money. I've also spent 4.5 years of my career focusing on this versus earning money. So when you talk about it being hard, it's emotionally hard, it's mentally hard. It's people don't understand that you've invested everything into this, and people are like, "Oh, I totally get what you're talking about, man. I work 10-hour, 12-hour, 16-hour days. It's hard." It's like, you know what, and that's the issue. Is it's just hard in so many ways that people wouldn't understand. And if you don't have a good support system of friends and family who truly support what you're doing, or are able to connect with other entrepreneurs, especially in the space of social entrepreneurship, who there are some additional challenges that come with being a social entrepreneur, it can be difficult because you just feel misunderstood and that people don't kind of get what you're going through.
Yeah. It's funny because I was talking to a friend the other day, and she said it herself. Entrepreneurs are the loneliest people in the world, especially when you're starting. Because, like you said, not everybody understands the vision. Not everybody understands, the direction that you see within that you want to see your company show. So, tell me about the beginning. Was it just you by yourself? Did you have a group of people, like-minded individuals?
Well, it's kind of funny because it's always, for the most part, it's always been two of us, and that other person is she's now my wife.
Okay.
About 3 days after I officially formed Atayne as a legal entity, I actually met. I was at a networking reception, and the story behind it is great. Are you familiar with Net Impact?
No, I'm not. I need to be.
It's so Net Impact it started in business school MBA programs, where Net Impact is an organization of people who are trying to use the power of business to change the world.
Okay.
So when I was getting my MBA, I was the president of Net Impact at my school, and my now wife was involved with Net Impact. But we were at a networking event at the headquarters for Honest Tea, which is a brand of organic teas. Same type of company Atayne wants to be, and we happened to meet there.
Okay.
And this was literally a few days after I had officially legally formed Atayne, and we've kind of been together ever since. We dated, we got engaged, and we got married, and so it's kind of been us who have been running this company. Now she still has a day job and works, but I'm full time on Atayne.
Okay.
And then we've over the years we've brought people on to fill certain roles in the company. Most of these people are part-time or freelance workers, everything from, people who help out with communications, sales and marketing, product design, accounting, finance, stuff like that.
All right, cool.
But the core team of people who are really behind this company, it's just the two of us.
So well, I should be, but I'm just lazy. That's a personal note. But if I was an athletic person, and I should be running more, I could go to your site and buy great shirts that are made out of recycled material, which is great for the environment. That's what you guys do. Now tell me, so what other hurdles did you guys jump over? So you talked about being alone in the mindset of getting this up and going. How hard was it to pitch this idea to the people that you were selling? Did you have difficulty selling it?
It's when people hear our story from a consumer standpoint, it's most cases a no-brainer for them.
All right.
Our products are priced higher than say the Nikes and the Under Armours of the world, but they're not significantly higher. It's if Nike was to sell a certain kind of style or something for $35,
yeah,
ours would probably cost $39. It's not that much more, and with the value that we have, it's people are willing to pay that. And so when you talk about hurdles, some of our hurdles have just been hurdles that a lot of people have had to face. When we launched sales in August, in the very end of August 2008, it was about 2 weeks later that Lehman Brothers collapsed and the economy tanked.
Yeah.
And so, we were at the time growing and running our business under the assumption that we had some commitments from some investors that once the economy tanked, people started pulling out. So all of a sudden we had to this was all of a sudden $150,000 less dollars that were going to come into our organization. So we had to basically retool our organization and make our growth plans much less aggressive because we weren't going to have this funding. We had to bootstrap it. And that was a significant challenge, and it was hard. It makes it even more difficult when we have certain, when you're a startup, and not only is we manufacture everything in the U.S., our fabrics are a bit more expensive, so we kind of have a higher cost structure in that way, and that's been difficult. I started to realize that, if you waste your time trying to convince people who don't believe in what you're doing that what you're doing is right and the other way is wrong, most of the time they're just going to put their heels in the ground and they're not going to listen to you. You can't really tell people they're wrong and all of a sudden expect them to change their mind.
Yeah.
And so, that's been hard because if you're trying to get people within the industry to support and help you and they just don't get it, you can waste a lot of time trying to make them get it, or you can just talk to other people who kind of understand it. And that's always been challenging is how can you because our business is based on a lot of people being partners, from the people we work with to develop our fabrics to the facilities we work with to actually manufacture our garments. And we need to make sure that there's strong values alignment, that people understand what we're trying to do. Because we don't look at them as vendors. We look at them as partners, because our company is based on partnerships. We partner with our customers. We partner with our manufacturers, and that can be hard to get everyone in alignment.
And how do you build those partnerships?
It's just, it spends a lot of time researching, finding the companies that have the capabilities you need, and going out and spending time with them and working with them. It takes a lot of time is really what it comes down to.
All right. Now you guys are still growing, but what would you say was your big break so far?
I would say our big break, and it kind of made us look at our business a little bit different and see that there's a huge opportunity that we needed to pursue. Last year, a marathon that's in West Virginia.
Okay.
It's in like the Harper's Ferry area, which is pretty close to DC, about an hour outside Washington, D.C. They made a decision that they were going to buy a large number of shirts from us to give out to all the participants in their race. And we're talking about 3,000 shirts.
Okay.
And so this was going to be our single largest customer in our company's history. And not that we had that big of a history, long of a history anyway, but yeah. It made us realize that there's a huge market out there for us to supply custom apparel to events. And we started going down that road, and our business has really started to explode because of that, because you have road races and cycling events that are trying to buy products that are made in a more environmentally friendly way, are made in the U.S., and that just opened up a whole other market for us. So now most of our business is selling custom to events like that.
All right. But you guys also sell in stores, right?
We do. We sell direct through our website, and we're about ready, hopefully in early 2012, to have a very large line expansion that we've been working on this past year. And we also have a few retailers that we do sell through. 2012 is going to be a big push for us to get our line in more retail stores. So we sell in a lot of specialty running in stores that, like Potomac River Running Store down in, they have about 8 stores in Washington, D.C. They sell our stuff, and a few other small retailers like that across the country. But that's going to be a big push for us this year, is get our products more in other markets, in physical retail locations.
But even that, making such an accomplishment like that had to be great, especially starting out. How did that feel to get your line in that first retail store?
It's great. You know what? There's certain things where, especially for me, I built this company. I created these products, and when I remember not this past February, but the February before, we were in Austin, Texas for a couple of weeks. We were escaping the cold Maine winter, and we went out, and the Austin Marathon was going on, and we went out to watch it. And the Austin Marathon has probably 15,000 runners or so.
Okay.
There's a lot of people out there, and all of a sudden we see this woman run by wearing an Atayne shirt, and you see stuff like that. And I was so before we live in Maine now, but before I was in Washington D.C. and my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, lived in Greenpoint in Brooklyn, and we're at the YMCA working out, and there's a guy in there wearing one of our shirts.
How does that feel?
Yeah, and it's like it's awesome. He came up to me because we were wearing the same shirt. He's like, "Hey, where'd you get that?" I just bought this at the Philadelphia Marathon last weekend, and I'm like, "It's my company. You bought it from me."
Awesome, man. That has to be a great feeling. Now,
It is when you see people that are just love, or when people write you and they say, "Oh, I learned about your. I was on a vacation in Phoenix and I learned about your company. I was running, saw someone wearing this cool shirt, asked them about it, and they said it was yours." So it's like you stuff like that happens, and people reach out to you about it. It's a really cool feeling.
definitely, man. Now, Jeremy, there's this new thing going around. A lot of people aren't familiar with it. I'm surprised. I had to do my research myself. Can you speak to us a little bit about B corporations? You guys are a qualified B Corp. Speak
Yes.
to us about that. What exactly is B corporations?
B corporations, you have to look at it on two different levels. There's B Lab, which is basically a nonprofit which has can which certifies people as certifies companies as B corporations. So you have to go through a pretty rigorous test and interview to show that the way you operate your business is the so-called triple bottom line oriented. So yes, you're a for-profit company, but inherent in your business model is solving social and environmental problems. So very early in the stages, we became a B Corp. And there are some other bigger B Corps out there, like Seventh Generation is a B Corp, Dansko Shoes is a B Corp, Method is a B Corp. We're definitely one of the probably smaller ones. It's a certification that you can get, and we actually just got recertified this year. So we've been a B Corp for about 2.5 years. But then there's also a legal movement behind it, where states are starting to implement legislation for a B Corp, where you can actually set your company up as a legal entity as a B Corp. So if you think of corporate forms, and there are S Corps, there are C Corps, and those have certain legal legal protections to it. But now in some states like Maryland, Vermont, California, you can actually be a B Corp, which there's certain kind of legal benefits to being a B Corp, but you also have to meet certain standards to be a B Corp. And so for us, we aren't a legal B Corp. We're a certified B Corp. But what we did have to do is we had to put language in our operating agreement, which basically says that in any decision we make, we have to consider all our stakeholders, meaning our employees, our community, our vendors, our customers, the environment. So it's not just like you can't make decisions as a company purely based on profit maximization. You have to consider about your impact on everything, all the stakeholders.
And that's exactly what social entrepreneurs think about. I asked all my guests this that have been coming on the program recently. You see what's going on with the whole Occupy movement, Occupy Wall Street, Occupy here, Occupy there. And you could tell, our generation, we're very dissatisfied with the way how businesses have been going on, and that there's a change, there's a need for a change in the way how businesses are operated. How important do you think being a social entrepreneur is today and for the future?
I think it's very important, and because companies, the way that I look at it is being a social entrepreneur isn't just all of a sudden, hey, I got a great idea for this environmentally friendly product. So it goes much more than that. It's not just about making a so-called green product. It's about developing business models that are completely different than what's going on out there. And inherent in the business model is a way to solve social or environmental problems. And that's where you really find, and so, a lot of people talk about sustainability, and I actually don't like that word. I like to talk more in people are starting to use the terminology now around the idea of thrivability. Because sustainability is about, if you look up sustainability in the dictionary, the definition is being able to be maintained at a steady state. So that means that there's no kind of there's nothing about growth in there. And the reality is people demand growth. If you're going to be a viable business, you do have to grow. So thrivability is this idea where businesses local and global communities in the environment can all thrive together, can all flourish together. Um, but it's important to have social entrepreneurs, but at the same time, I think the Occupy Wall Street, the Occupy movement, the biggest thing that people need to understand, especially the people in that movement, is social entrepreneurs are key, but consumers hold the power.
Yeah. Speak
If
on that.
you if you want to complain about Walmart or whoever, and I'm not saying Walmart is horrible. A lot of people don't like Walmart. Walmart does some decent things. They do some bad things. But people got used to the idea of buying a $2.50 T-shirt at Walmart. So people have to put their money where their mouth is, and whether you look at there's some good things and some very very value arguments in the Occupy movement, but people have to make sure that they're not being hypocritical about what they're saying. And it's very easy to demand jobs, and that people should be, factories should be opening in the States and this, that, and that. But unless consumers are buying those products and willing to pay that little extra more for what it means, then it's a little bit, it can get hypocritical. And, and that's the thing. It's like, this whole idea of social entrepreneurship. You need the entrepreneurs to take the risks, but you need the consumers and communities to support them.
It. Yeah, definitely. That's one of the reasons why I started quarterwaters.com. As I told you before, I'm a college student. I took the semester off. But last year we were so involved in so many protests. We were activists. We really wanted to see a change, and then it hit me that one of the strongest forces on earth is business. If we could create a business that is socially aware, if we could create a business in the way we envision how business is supposed to be run, maybe we could create a great change. And that's why I'm so excited to have people like you and other social entrepreneurs that we have had on the program that are able to communicate that and tell their story. It's funny because I had an offer on earlier, Robert Ashton, and he said the first thing, like, if you're going to become a social entrepreneur, you have to be pissed off about something. So you're taking that same sense of being an activist, of being pissed off about something, but not only you're going to complain about stuff, but that's not the end game. You're going to keep complaining, but you're also going to provide a solution. You're also going to provide some other factor by creating a business and showing people how these services are supposed to be given and how people could benefit from it. So I think it's awesome, and I think our viewers are going to get a lot from this. So tell me, Jeremy, what other tips would you have for social entrepreneurs that are watching this program right now?
I think the one thing is for social entrepreneurs. Some people will say that there's disadvantages because it can be harder to access capital to grow your company. But I look at it this way: social entrepreneurs actually have an advantage in this one way. Most social entrepreneurs are in it for the passion, number one, and the money, number two. We need to be in it for both because it's important to leverage the capitalism to create positive change. But if you talk about someone like me who's extremely passionate about what I do, I haven't made a dime in 4.5 years, but I get up every day jazzed to do what I'm doing because I know I'm going to make a huge impact on the world.
Definitely.
And later on, I'm probably going to make some money and I'm going to be comfortable. But I'm driven by that passion of doing something good, of changing an industry that is what I view to be as very dirty. Now, think about someone who might just be creating some sort of, consumer app. Let's say, apps are the big craze in entrepreneurship now. I'm going to create an app, and my whole motivation for creating this app is money. Well, if you don't get a quick exit, let me tell you something. Once you hit year 4 of not making any money, and you literally have, it changes your lifestyle. The decision of me to go out and get a beer with a friend is a major decision because that's $5 that I just don't have.
Yeah.
And I'm saying, when I say $5, I believe you're down in New York. I know a beer is probably a whole lot more than $5 down there. But anyway, social entrepreneurs have that advantage of being driven by passion, much more than a typical entrepreneur. And that passion can come from, like you said, it can be, I'm angry at this. I'm going to change that. I'm passionate. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to make some money doing it.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that. Doing good and doing well. That's the end game. To do good, do well. And you can make a lot of people happy by doing that. Is there anything we're leaving out, Jeremy? I don't want to leave anything out. I try to fit as much as I possibly can in these
I
interviews.
just tell people if they're if you're passionate about something and you want to do it, you got to do it, because you don't want to 20 years down the road look back and regret things that you didn't do. It's a whole lot easier to regret things that you did do.
Definitely, man. So that's it. If you have an idea, get to it. There's so many resources out there. Just use them. Have that idea and run with it. Don't give up. Thanks, Jeremy, for coming on the program.
Great, thank you.